What is going on, everybody? Welcome into a new edition of the Wishbone Shotgun Podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. I am Mike Rifkin. Hope everybody's doing well today, June 6th, 2026. It's been a very nice week outside. So, weather's getting warmer, and we're getting closer to football season. So today's show, we're going to break down the two massive trades that took place this week across the NFL. Then we are going to break down the schedule and do everybody's favorite game, over under on wins and losses on every team. Go through each schedule. I typed them out. And we'll go from there. But let's start with the two major trades that took place this week. And let's start with I think the bigger one. And that was the Browns and the Rams had swung a deal to send Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams receive Myles Garrett. The Browns get Jared Verse, the 2027 first round pick from the Rams, a 2028 second round pick from the Rams, and a 2029 third round pick. That goes to Cleveland in exchange for Myles Garrett, the best pass rusher in the game. And the Rams basically just said, hey, remember when we had the motto of F them picks? We're back to F them picks. They added Trent McDuffie this offseason. They've now added Myles Garrett this offseason to this defense. Obviously, we know what they have with Stafford and Devontae and Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams in the backfield and Sean McVay. And they just said, listen, we're going to go for it again. And they are on the cusp. Listen, them in Seattle, they played a hell of an NFC championship game. Played them tough 3 times. The difference could have been that if they had home field advantage, if they don't blow that second game up in Seattle. But Myles Garrett's the best pure pass rusher in the game still. This is a great deal for Les Snead. It's a great deal for the Rams. They're back to going all in. Not that they went away from it, but we know their motto. We know their motto. We know what they're going for. See what happens. And look, for Cleveland, this is a good deal, too. It's a really good deal. You get the draft capital, especially the first round pick next year, where the quarterback class is going to be deeper. And you get Jared Verse, who's a young pass rusher who was really good for the Rams. He now goes to Cleveland. And I like his comments. He said, I'm not here to replace Myles Garrett. And I think that's a smart comment on his part because, look, when you get traded for a player, one of the big things is you get comp to that player for whether it's the longevity of your time in place X or whatever. There's always going to be that comp. Myles Garrett is a future Hall of Fame. Myles Garrett just was never going to win in Cleveland. You know, let's be blunt about that. The Browns are not winning in the next, I don't know how many more years Myles Garrett has left in his tank, but they're not winning in the near future. We don't even know the quarterback situation going forward after this year. So that's a massive deal for Cleveland. They get more picks. They can build this thing how they want to build it, although I don't know why you trust them. But the Rams do what they do. They go all in. And I love it from a Ram perspective. I like it from a Cleveland perspective. And if you look at the top of the NFC for a second, I'm not going to. You can make the case for the Rams to be the best team in the NFC. I still think they need one more piece. I think they can use one more receiver. whether they bring in mate. I think the guy I would bring. I think there's two guys I would look at. I would look at Debo if he's willing to sign a very low rated contract, incentive based it. Or I'd bring in Stephon Diggs. I think one of those two guys could really open the floor for the offense, just as good as that defense is, and could be under Chris Shula. Well, if you look at the top of the NFC, I really think there's four teams in the NFC that I go, you know what? That's a real Super Bowl contender. And it's the Rams, it's the Seahawks, it's the Niners, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. I think there's so many other teams in the NFC who have something to prove. We'll get into that when we do the over-unders. So I think right now the NFC has got a four-team hierarchy, and then everyone else is playing for second place. So yeah, good deal both sides. Myles Garrett gets a chance to win a ring. Maybe Aaron Donald comes out of retirement. That rumor's been speculated. Oh God, if Aaron Donald comes out of retirement, jeez, look out. Other offensive lines may not want to play on Sundays. All right, the other major trade that we got to talk about. The Patriots and the Eagles, the long rumored A.J. Brown deal has come to fruition. A.J. Brown goes to New England. Philadelphia gets back a 2027 fifth round pick and a 2028 first round pick. I mean, this deal's been speculated for a long time. And I think for New England, I got to be honest with you. I don't think the Patriots have had a great offseason. I don't think so. They finally get a guy who could be a game-changing receiver for them. They brought in Diggs last year, who was a major help for them. There's no doubt about how big of a help Stephon Diggs, but he wasn't the game breaker. A.J. Brown is still a game breaker, and you can find the game breaker. There were struggles within that Eagles offense last year. We all know that. We don't know what happened between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown and Sirianni. There's so many moving parts to what happened in Philly the last couple of years. And you look at this deal and you go, New England gets their game-breaking receiver. And look, that's the move New England needed to make. They needed to make this move. They reunite A.J. Brown with Mike Vrabel. I'm almost positive you're going to get a real motivated A.J. Brown in this, too. A.J. Brown is going to prove he's not done. And the guy that benefits the most is Drake May. But I also want to see this from New England coming into the year. I think the Super Bowl exposed a lot of things about New England. One, the offensive line still had its issues. Two was they didn't have a guy like A.J. Brown. Because if you look back at what New England tried to do in the Super Bowl, they wanted to establish the run. They wanted to do little things. But they didn't have that guy downfield that you trust one-on-one. They didn't trust Kayshon Boutte. They didn't trust Demario Douglas. And they still have Hunter Henry. Like, let's not forget that part too. So this offense in New England with Josh McDaniels, that could be major play. Philly, they get the fifth rounder next year, and they get the first rounder in 28. People are complaining about what Howie got. If there's one GM I'm not going to criticize in the NFL, it's Howie Roseman. And I kind of like where Philly is at receiver. You got Devontae Smith. You draft Mekhi Lemon. So you kind of are going more into that yak mode, yards after catch stuff that you're looking for from your receivers. So now it's going to be imperative on Jalen Hurts. I think that's the guy now. Like, you're now challenging Jalen Hurts to be the guy we think he is, but people don't want to portray him as that guy. If that makes sense. Let me think about, I'll word it differently. I think everyone wants to say Jalen Hurts isn't a great quarterback when he's a very good quarterback. It's kind of like we don't love to give him the credit when he's really good and Philly wins, but when Philly struggles, he's the first guy you point to. Now the pressure's kind of going right to him. And let's be fair, I think this also benefits Saquon Barkley a lot. I think Saquon out of the backfield could be a big play here in Philly too, screens and such. So we'll see what happens. But I think Howie did fine. And New England gets their game-breaking wide receiver. A.J. Brown reunites with Mike Vrabel, who he had in Tennessee. And if I remember correctly, Tennessee, when they traded him to Philly, got back a first-round pick, which was Treylon Burks. So in reality, Howie did better in giving up A.J. Brown than the Titans did because he got a fifth-rounder plus a first-rounder. Albeit different years, but he got that. All right. So those are the two big trades. I still would put Philly in that hierarchy in the NFC, like I said. New England's going to be a really interesting watch this year. I think they surprised a lot of people last year with how quickly Vrabel and May were able to turn this around. And we know how this thing works, the schedule, and we will get into that with over-unders in a second. But the Patriots schedule, it's not going to be a cakewalk. All right. So we're going to do over-unders now. Every team, we're going to go division by division. I have written out the schedules for myself, so I'll read them aloud. Not in order, just like home, away. And the number Vegas has set for said team. Now, for teams like the Rams, Patriots, Eagles, and Browns, I wrote this out before the trades. So if they were altered, go off the alteration. I wrote these before the trades occurred. So before I do start, I went with the Vegas numbers. No sports book or betting site is affiliated here with the Sports Insanity Network. So these are just the numbers. Nobody's affiliated with anybody. No sponsors, no nothing. All right. We'll start in the NFC West, and we'll start with the defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. Their home opponents, outside of your Rams, Cardinals, Niners. By the way, the Rams Seahawks games are going to be must watch this year. They will host the Patriots opening night, the Bears, Giants, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Chargers all go to Seattle, while the Seahawks on the road, again, Cardinals, Rams, Niners, they will go to Washington to play the Commanders. They'll go to Denver to play the Broncos, Vegas to play the Raiders. They also go to Philly and Carolina. The number set by Vegas for the Seattle Seahawks is 10.5. That is the number. The number is 10.5 for Seattle. Remember, they lost Kenneth Walker, lost a couple of pieces on that defense, including Reek Woolen. And they lost Clint Kubiak. I would hit the under. And I'm not saying like they're going to go 7-10. They might win 10 games. They'll win 10 games. I don't know if they'll win 11 or 12. But I would play safe on the under there with Seattle. So the Rams are next. Again, at home, they get the Seahawks, Cardinals, Niners. They get the Giants, Bills, Can you call Rams versus Chargers a home game for anybody? They play in the same damn stadium. Anyway, Giants, Bills, Chargers, Packers, Chiefs, Cowboys all go to LA. While on the road, again, Seahawks, Cards, Niners, the Rams will go to Denver, Philly, Vegas, Washington, and Tampa. The number on the Rams was 11 and a half. Pre-Myles Garrett trade. Don't know if the number altered off of that. Probably did. I would hit the over on the Rams. I think they are with everything they've done, I think they are I don't want to say 1 through 53, they're the best roster because I don't think they're the best roster, but they are really damn good. They might have the best starting lineup in football. So I would hit the over on 11 and a half. Yeah, maybe not by much. Maybe they win 12 games. Then you got the Niners who are 10 and a half. At home again, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. They'll also host the Dolphins, Broncos, Commanders, Raiders, Vikings, Seahawks, and Eagles. I wrote down Seahawks twice. I'm an idiot. So it's Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, Dolphins, Broncos, Commanders, Raiders, Vikings, Eagles. On the road, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Falcons, Cowboys, Giants, Chargers, Chiefs. The number for the Niners is 10 and a half. I think I'm going to play safe. I'm going to go under on that. I got questions. I love the Niners. I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he's done an outstanding job. And I'm not saying under again, like they're not going to go 6 and 11, 5 and 12. They may win 10 games. I think they're a wild card team still in the NFC. I really do. But I got some questions. Will McCaffrey be healthy for a full year? Will George Kittle be back? Will Fred Warner be back? Who's making plays on the outside? That's going to be a big question all year. Will Mike Evans be able to stay healthy? That's a question. They're elite. They are really good. They also are going to need that defense to pick up the pressure on the quarterback. Now, they'll get that with Nick Bosa being healthy again. But who else is going to step up? That's going to be the question for the Niners. 10 and a half is a big number. I don't know if they'll win 11 games. I would play safe, hit the under on the Niners. But I still think they're a playoff team. And then there's the Cardinals. Again, Rams, Seahawks, Niners at home. They also get the Lions, Broncos, Commanders, Eagles, Jets, and Raiders at home. On the road, Rams, Seahawks, Niners, Giants, Cowboys, Chiefs, Saints, Chargers. The number for the Arizona Cardinals is 4.5. I would hit the under. I don't like them. I don't like them. There's a lot of reasons I don't like them. One being they took a running back third overall in the draft, where, in my opinion, you trade down, you accumulate more. Because they're not ready. We don't know the quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's not at OTAs. So the quarterback competition is Gardner, Minshew, and Carson Beck. And that's not an insult to either guy. It's just I don't trust the offensive line isn't that good. I don't know what this defense is going to look like. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be great. Could they win 5 games? I don't know. Let's look at this. Like, I know they usually find 1 or 2 upsets in the division, but I don't think they beat the Rams. I don't think they beat Seattle. Maybe they get the Niners once. They're not. I don't think they beat Detroit. I don't think they beat Denver. Washington is going to be dependent on Jaden Daniels' health. They're not beating the Eagles. Okay, maybe they could get the Jets, but I think the Jet defense will eat them alive. Maybe they get the Raiders. And then on the road, I, what road game do they win? I don't think they beat the Giants. So I'm just not there on the Cardinals. So I would hit the under. So we're over on the Rams in the West, and we're under on the other three, although I still think Seattle and San Francisco are playoff teams. They're just big numbers, guys. Like that's the problem. It's a big number. All right, NFC North. We'll start with the Bears. Again, home games: Packers, Lions, Vikings, Eagles, Jets, Patriots, Bucks, Saints, Jaguars. On the road: Packers, Lions, Vikings, Bills, Dolphins, Panthers, Falcons, Seahawks. The number for the Chicago Bears is 9.5. With the news that came out this week, I'm hitting the under. Caleb Williams is on the cover of Madden. We all know what happens. Something bad. Excuse me. Something bad usually happens to the Madden cover guy. I think Chicago is trending upward. I think they are in a very good spot with Ben Johnson. Let's see how the DJ Moore trade affects them. Now, now it's going to put more on Roma Dunzier, Luther Burden, some other guys. So let's see what happens there. But 9.5 is a big number. I think they can win 9. Could they win 10? Absolutely. Especially when you look at the home schedule. I mean, they get the Jets at home. They get Tampa at home, too. That's an important one. Playoff thoughts. And on the road, Atlanta's a dome. That won't impact them. Carolina, that's an interesting game. Chicago, Carolina is a very interesting game for this reason. Never forget, the Bears owned that first pick when Carolina made the trade for Bryce Young. All right, so that's the Bears at 9.5. The Packers at home get, again, Bears, Vikings, Lions. They get the Falcons, Cowboys, Panthers, Bills, Dolphins, Texans. On the road, Bears, Vikings, Lions, Jets, Bucks, Patriots, Rams, Saints. News earlier this week, Micah Parsons will not start the year with the team. He's not probably going to be back till October. That's a hit for this defense, which also is going to be down Rashawn Gary, who they moved out to Dallas. They also just gave Christian Watson a big extension, and the dude's not always healthy. I don't trust the Packers. And that feels so weird to say because they've been the epitome of consistency for a long time. I would hit the under on the 10.5 for the Packers. Let me just make sure it is. Yep, 10.5. I don't put Jordan Love in the same contest or same stratosphere as some of the upper echelon quarterbacks. He played really well at times last year, and there's no doubt about it. But I'm not there. He has to get me to another place. And now with the Josh Jacobs news too, like we're waiting to see what the NFL wants to hand something down on that. All right, the Vikings at 8.5. Home, Packers, Bears, Lions, Dolphins, Colts, Bills, 49ers, Falcons, Panthers, Commanders. I believe one of these is a international game. On the road, Packers, Bears, Lions, Bucks, Saints, Patriots, Jets. The number's 8.5. We don't know the quarterback situation, although we think Kyler starts. I think Kyler starts. You got Jefferson, you got Jordan Addison, you got TJ Hawkinson, got pretty good defense. This is the sleeper team in this division. The number is 8.5. I think I'm hitting the over. This is time for Kyler Murray to prove people wrong. This is the team that should scare everybody offensively because of Kyler's ability to run, Aaron Jones, the receivers I just mentioned, and then you get that Brian Flores defense. I'm going to hit the over on the Vikings. I would hit the over. I like them. I like the Vikings a lot. And then the Lions to wrap up the NFC North. Again, Packers, Vikings, Bears at home, Saints, Jets, Patriots, Bucks, Titans, Giants. And on the road, again, Vikings, Bears, Packers, Bills, Panthers, Cardinals, Dolphins, Falcons. The number's 10.5 for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to hit the under. I think they win about 9, maybe 10. Here's my thing. They moved off of some guys on the offensive line. So they got to reshape that. How good is this defense going to be? And then the big one for me is this. They lose David Montgomery. They get rid of Montgomery. They bring in Isaiah Pacheco. How different is this run game going to look with Pacheco and Gibbs as opposed to Montgomery and Gibbs? That's a question. And I think the other thing is this. Can someone step up in place of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Not saying he's going to get hurt or anything, but teams at times last year, even though he had a phenomenal year, he did. They need some guys to step up. Laporta went down at times last year. They need someone else, whether that's Isaac Tesla or somebody else. They need somebody to step up. So just to recap the North, I'm under on the Bears, I'm under on the Packers, I'm over on the Vikings, and I'm under on the Lions. The NFC South, or as we like to say, the most boring division of football. Let's start with the Panthers. Home games, Bucks, Falcons, Saints, Lions, Broncos, Ravens, Bengals, Seahawks. Road, again, Bucks, Falcons, Saints, Browns, Eagles, Packers, Vikings, Steelers. The number is 6.5. The Panthers have had great improvement over the last year. They had a pretty good draft and offseason. This schedule is brutal. I mean, now they catch some breaks here. They get Denver at home, so they don't have to go to Mile High. They get the Ravens at home, and they get Seattle at home. So they get some home. They don't have to travel to those tough environments. Instead, they got to go to places like Cleveland and Philly. Philly's a tough environment, but they go to Cleveland, which is a tough environment, but it's not to the level of Denver. Not because of, not trying to insult the fan base here, but Denver, altitude, you got to get used to certain things. That was my point. 6.5, I would hit the under. I love what Bryce Young showed last year, but this is a team in Carolina. I don't think they're ready for this. This is a first place team schedule. This is, I'm going to hit the under. They're not ready for this. The Buccaneers. Again, home games: Falcons, Saints, Panthers, Browns, Packers, Vikings, Steelers, Chargers, Rams. Get the Chargers and the Rams at home. Nice. Good for you, Tampa. On the road, Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Bengals, Cowboys, Bears, Lions, Ravens. I have questions on Tampa Bay. I have a lot of questions about Tampa. Can Emeka Buka revert back to first half Emeka Buka? Can Chris Godwin stay healthy? How much did last year's choke job impact them going into this year? That being said, the number's 8.5. I would hit the over. They'll win 9 games. They'll win 9, unless something catastrophic happens. They're going to win 9 games. They're the class of the division. I'm sorry, they are. All right, Falcons at home, Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Ravens, Bears, Niners, Bengals, Chiefs, Lions. On the road, Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Steelers, Packers, Vikings, Browns, Commanders. The number is 7.5. Coach Kevin Stefanski. Quarterback competition between Tua and Penix. They just signed Drake London to a big deal. We're waiting on the Bijan contract to get done. They franchised Kyle Pitts. Defensively, the James Pierce situation is not good. Excuse me. The number 7.5. I think I'm going to hit the under. I don't know what the Falcons are. Can Bijan carry them to 8 wins? I don't know. I would hit the under on Atlanta. And then the Saints, Bucks, Falcons, Panthers at home, Raiders, Vikings, Steelers, Browns, Packers, Cardinals. On the road, Bucks, Panthers, Falcons, Lions, Ravens, Giants, Bears, Bengals. The number 7.5. I would actually hit the slide over. I think they can win 8 games. Tyler Shuck showed a lot last year. They bring in Travis Achan. I know it was ETM, but apparently that was pronounced wrong. Chris Olave. They bring in Jordan Tyson through the draft. Kellen Moore's cooking here a little bit. They got some things there in New Orleans. Still need some pieces on that defense, but guess what? I think they can win 8 games. I do. Look, they play the division tough. They did that last year for a lot. But if you look at home games for a second, Raiders, that's a winnable game. Minnesota, Pittsburgh, those are winnable. Cleveland, winnable. Arizona, winnable game. Should be a win. You go on the road, obviously the division. You're playing Detroit in Detroit, so there's no weather, there's no issues. I don't think you win that game, but you can be competitive. Giants, we'll get to them in a little bit, but that could be a game where hey, you got a shot. I'm going to hit the slide over on the Saints. All right, NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles, home games. Giants, Cowboys, Commanders. Then it's Rams, Jags, Panthers, Steelers, Colts, Seahawks, Texans. Again, I think they get an international game. On the road, Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Niners. The number's 10.5, and I would say over. Here's my thing. Most of their tough games they get at home. The Rams got to go to Philly. The Jacksonville Jaguars got to go to Philly. Seattle comes to you. The the Texans Eagles could be fun. And then on the road, the Titans, you could beat the Titans. Your toughest road game outside the division is the Niners. I would say the Bears, but I don't know what the Bears are. So I would hit the over on the Eagles. Cowboys, home games, Giants, Commanders, Eagles, Ravens, Bucks, Cardinals, 49ers, Titans, Jags. They also get an international game. Road, Eagles, Giants, Commanders, Texans, which I don't think you could call a road game, but okay. Packers, Colts, Rams, Seahawks. The number's 8.5. I would hit the slight over on Dallas. Every tougher, like Philly, most of their tougher games are at home. What's their toughest road game? Seattle. They get Seattle and the Rams. We know Cowboy fan base travels well. But look, I think they'll split with both Philly and the Giants. Washington is going to be so dependent on a couple of things, which we'll get into. But I think I would hit the slight over on Dallas. But speaking of the Commanders, home games, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Seahawks, Colts, Rams, Bengals, Texans, Falcons. On the road, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Niners, Cardinals, Titans, Vikings, Jags. The number 7.5. If Jaden Daniels can stay healthy this year, you could hit the over. I don't know if he'll stay healthy. Who's going to make plays opposite Terry McLaurin? That's a big question. I think we got a couple of things here to be concerned about. How good is that defense going to be? Can they turn it around in a year? These are big questions here for Dan Quinn. I'm going to sit here and tell you hit the under because I think there's just too many questions. And I like Washington. I think they're a good team if they can be healthy. All right, the Giants. Home games, Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Titans, Cardinals, Saints, Jags, Niners, Browns, road, Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Rams, Texans, Colts, Seahawks, Lions. The number for the New York Football Giants is 7.5. And we would totally take the over on the New York Giants. Think about games the Giants lost last season. So many clutch choke jobs. They choked away a lot of games. John Harbaugh will not allow that to happen. They added a lot of pieces at receiver. Darnell Mooney gets added. We'll get into the other guys after this in a second. Calvin Austin, they bring in Isaiah Likely. Defensively, they added pieces. They have a great group of pass rushers. I like where the Giants are. I really do. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I don't know if they're there yet. But I like where the Giants are. And I would hit the over. So Philly and the Giants. Philly, Dallas, Giants. We're hitting the over. Washington, under. Too many questions. All right. AFC East. Patriots, home games, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Steelers, Raiders, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Broncos. On the road, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Seahawks, Jags, Bears, Chargers, Chiefs. The number for the New England Patriots is 9.5. AJ Brown was just added. I I think I'm gonna hit 10 wins is a lot. And if you look, their their road games are more interesting. They got a couple of interesting home games. Denver comes to them this year. Minnesota comes to them. Detroit comes to them. So let's just say they split with Buffalo and they go 4-0 against Jets and Dolphins. It's 5 wins. You need to find 5 more wins minimum. Um, there's a lot of pressure here, Drake May. I'll give them the slight over. I could see them at 10. All right, the Bills, home, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, Lions, Chargers, Ravens, Chiefs, Bears. Road, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, Texans, Rams, Raiders, Vikings, Packers, Broncos. It's funny. Last year, I thought every tough game the Bills had was in Buffalo. It feels like their toughest road game this year is the same toughest road game I think they had last year. It's in Houston. Like Denver's a tough game. They played Denver in the playoffs, so I'm not really counting that because I wasn't scheduled. But listen, we're at the point now where it's now or pretty much never for Josh Allen. And I'm not trying to be mean to Josh Allen. I'll hit the over because the Bills are a great regular season team. They added DJ Moore to help become wide receiver one. But look, the question for the Bills is not the regular season. They got to get it done in January. They have. If they don't do it this year, we don't know when they'll do it. All right, so that's the Bills at 10.5. The Dolphins, Bills, Patriots, Jets at home, Chiefs, Bengals, Lions, Bears, Chargers. On the road, Bills, Jets, Patriots, Raiders, Niners, Vikings, Colts, Broncos, Packers. The number for Malik Willis and the Fighting Fish is 4.5. The number I think you could hit is over. I kind of really like what the Dolphins are doing. I understand that it's a new coach, quarterback, really young team. But let's look at the schedule for a second as I read off the opponents. Okay, they may go 0-2 against the Bills. They may go 0-2 against the Patriots. All right, 0-4. They can beat the Jets. At least once. You could split with the Jets. But other teams they could beat on here. They could beat the Raiders. Uh, you're going to sit there and tell me they're not going to be fired up maybe to play their former coach, Mike McDaniel, and the Chargers? I know McDaniel's fired, so it might be a little different, but that's a winnable game. Not really. It's really not, but it sounds good. But I would still hit the over. I think they could find a way to 5 games. I really do. Um, you know, the Colts, we don't know what the Colts are. Green Bay, I told you earlier, I'm not a believer. So I would smash the over on 4.5. The Jets, home games, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Packers, Browns, Raiders, Broncos, Vikings. Road games, Titans, Bills, Patriots, Dolphins, Lions, Bears, Chiefs, Chargers, Cardinals, Vikings. The number is 5.5. The number Aaron Glenn needs this to be an over. The problem is, I think it's about 5. I would say under. I'll say this: they can win some home games here. Browns, Raiders. Luckily, they don't go to Denver, but they got to go to Kansas City. They got to go to LA and play the Chargers. Aaron Glenn in Detroit could be interesting. They'll beat Arizona. The AFC North: Cleveland, Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Panthers, Texans, Raiders, Falcons, Colts at home. Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Jags, Bucks, Titans, Saints, Giants, Jets. On the road, the number for Cleveland is 6.5. That was pre-Myles Garrett trade. I'm going to smash the under. I don't know what they are. We'll see what Todd Monken is as a head coach. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Could Sean Jenkins return to being healthy? Don't know. That being said, they've revamped the offensive line. I don't know how good the defense is really going to be. They'll steal a couple games here and there, but I don't know if 6.5 is a good number. Bengals, home games: Browns, Ravens, Steelers, Bucks, Jags, Titans, Falcons, Chiefs. Road games: Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Texans, Dolphins, Commanders, Panthers, Colts. The number for the Cincinnati Bengals is 9.5. I would hit the over for the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the best, or one of the best receiving duos in the league in Higgins and Chase. Chase Brown has turned himself into a really good running back. They did a lot of work on this defense. They need this if this defense can show any sign of life and Joe Burrow stays healthy, the Bengals are a playoff team. All right. Ravens, home games: Bengals, Browns, Steelers, Saints, Cowboys, Titans, Jags, Chargers, Bucks. Road games: Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Colts, Falcons, Bills, Panthers, Texans. The number's 11.5. This is the best roster to me, one of the best rosters of football. This is a make or break here for a lot of pieces on this team. New coach Jesse Minter. Lamar, we know there's a contractual situation going on. They got to wipe out the noise. 11.5 is a big number. I would hit the slight under. I think they win 11 on the dot. Then there's the Steelers, home games: Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Falcons, Colts, Saints, Broncos, Texans, Panthers. Road games: Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Patriots, Bucks, Eagles, Jags, and Titans. The number for the Pittsburgh Steelers is 8.5. I need this. And I mean this when I say this. I need this to be an under. And I don't say that to be mean or disrespectful to the people of Pittsburgh, Steelers. This organization has gotten so arrogant over the last number of years. Oh, we're going to reunite Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy this year. This isn't prime Aaron Rodgers. He's 42 years old. That's my problem here. They just think everything is going to fall into place. Everything falls into place for the Steelers every year. Oh, we're going to lose at Cleveland. We get Lamar and Burrow hurt last year. We can coast into the playoffs. And then you lose a game at Cleveland, meaning week 17, 18, whatever it is now. And then Baltimore means something with Lamar and company. And you win the game because the Ravens couldn't make a 40-yard field goal or their defense couldn't make it stop. You finally moved off of Mike Tomlin. But now you want to make me think, oh, reuniting McCarthy and Rodgers, that'll help us. I'm not a Steeler believer in this. I think it's time you thought about hitting reset. And I think if you let's just look at when they match up with really good teams, what happens? Look at what happened to them in the playoff game against Houston. Look at what happened to them when the Bills went into Pittsburgh. I'm just not there on the Steelers. I'm not. Sorry. I need this to be an under, and this needs to be a wake up call. AFC South, the Titans, Colts, Jags, Texans at home, Jets, Eagles, Browns, Commanders, and the Steelers. On the road, Colts, Texans, Jags, Giants, Ravens, Bengals, Cowboys, Lions, Raiders. The number is 6.5. I would hit the under. Questions about Cam Ward. They brought in a lot of talent. I need to see it before I believe it. New coach and Robert Saleh, new OC and Brian Dable. But again, I need to see it before I believe in them. Indy. Home games, Jaguars, Texans, Titans, Ravens, Commanders, Cowboys, Dolphins, Giants, Bengals. On the road, Jags, Texans, Titans, Chiefs, Steelers, Vikings, Eagles, Browns. The number's 8.5. Another one, I'm going to hit the under. We don't know how Daniel Jones is. I don't know how Daniel Jones is recovering. We don't know how much the injury impacted him. They get rid of Michael Pittman. Now, all of a sudden, it's Alec Pierce kind of on an island. I don't know. So I would hit the under. Jaguars, home games, Texans, Titans, Colts, Browns, Patriots, Eagles, Steelers, Commanders. Road games, Texans, Titans, Colts, Broncos, Bengals, Ravens, Giants, Bears, Cowboys. Remember, they played 2 games in London. The number on the Jags is 9.5. Again, I'm under. I mean, some of these games, even at home, like, yeah, you get Philly at home, but Philly is Philly. You know, on the road, you got to go to Denver and Baltimore. So it's not easy. Not going to be an easy year for Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence. Then the Texans, home games, Jags, Colts, Titans, Bills, Cowboys, Giants, Ravens. On the road, Jags, Titans, Colts, Chargers, Browns, Steelers, Commanders, Eagles, Packers. The number is 9.5. I'm hitting the over. CJ Stroud has a lot of pressure because he's up for an extension, but the defense is out of this world. Will Anderson, Daniel Hunter, Petrie, Stingley. They're out of this world on defense. And they got playmakers offensively, too. I mean, Nico Collins, is turning into one of the better receivers in the game. So CJ Stroud just needs to put the New England game behind him. But I think the Texans are an over. And then the AFC West. Raiders, home games, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Dolphins, Rams, Bills, Seahawks, Titans. Road, Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Saints, Patriots, Jets, Niners, Browns, Cardinals. Raiders numbers 5.5. I would hit a slight under. For this reason, we just don't know how it's going to work with Fernando Mendoza and Cliff Kubiak. They added a lot of pieces. We'll see what happens. Chiefs, home games, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Colts, Jets, Cardinals, Patriots, Niners, road games, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Dolphins, Seahawks, Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Rams. The number's 10.5, and I'm hitting the over. The Chiefs, to me, are the team that benefited a lot last year without the Mahomes injury. And what they benefited from outside of the early draft pick, which was Mansour Delaney, which really still pisses me off. That's a whole nother conversation. I think it's a wake-up call. They went out, they go get Kenneth Walker, they add some pieces to the defense. I think they benefit from a long offseason because they played so much football over the last number of years. If Patrick Mahomes could stay healthy, if Rashee Rice could stay on the field, which again we don't know what's going on there, but they have some other pieces that can step up. And Travis Kelce's probably coming back. All right, Chargers, home games, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, Cardinals, Texans, Jets, Patriots, Niners, road games, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, Rams, Seahawks, Ravens, Bucks, Dolphins. The number is 10.5. They're another one. Just build the over. Build the over. And I'm putting the Chargers in a similar category to the Bills. Like, Justin Herbert needs to win a playoff game this year. Tired of the excuses. He was awful in that game 2 years ago against the Texans. Last year, we keep giving the dude excuses. What was the excuse last year? Oh, the offensive line inspector. Okay. We keep making excuses for Herbert. It's time to put up or shut up. You want to be an elite quarterback or not? And I think he is a very talented dude. In a playoff game, brother. And then Denver, home game, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Jags, Rams, Seahawks, Dolphins, Bills. Road games, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Niners, Cards, Panthers, Steelers, Jets, and Patriots. The number is 9.5. I would bag the over. Defense is phenomenal. Need to see how Bo Nix is recovering. But they got favorable home games. Jaguars, Dolphins. They got to go to Arizona. They should win that game. Jets, they should win that game. So those are over-unders. Again, no sports book is affiliated with the Sports Today Network in any way, shape, or form. I do want to touch on one last thing. The Giants this week signed 3 wide receivers: Braxton Berrios, Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, non-guaranteed deals. I think Odell Beckham being back with the Giants is a really cool thing if he could stay healthy. I think he could be a decent slot piece. If you want to put Darnell Mooney on the outside across from Malik Neighbors, depending on his recovery, I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster makes this team. And Gunnar Olszewski tore his Achilles. Braxton Berrios is perfect replacement. Return punts and kicks and play a little slot if you need him to. But I like what the Giants did here. They worked those guys out. They're bringing them in. They're going to work out with the team. I have no problem with it. I think Odell Beckham, if Odell Beckham makes the team, that could be a very interesting watch. All right. Thank you to everyone for listening to this edition of the Wishbone Shotgun Podcast, part of the Sports Today Network. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, or go to the YouTube page, like, comment, subscribe. Follow this. Go to the website, thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Rate blogs, logs, plate strings, and automobiles. Socials: Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network; Twitter, Insanity Real. You follow me personally on Twitter at Punmaster Rifkin. Also, same name on Blue Sky. Everyone, we're getting closer to training camp. Thanks for listening to this edition of the Wishbone Shotgun Podcast. I'm Mike Rifkin. Talk to you all next time.